Hello.
Hi,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
I'm exhausted, but I'm okay.
Good.
I've been managing Spirit Halloween, and currently because my regular life is not quite back to par. I normally work in the entertainment industry, so obviously that's not happening right now.
Well, this is entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah, it's entertaining. It's just I'm having like a Madonna moment. I'm in my robe and I'm drinking coffee. I just need a towel on my head.
Very, very much so.
So I have to get right to it. What are you thinking about the tour? What are your feelings?
I never
Just
thought
gotta get
this.
straight into it.
I really never thought this would happen. I mean, I'm so surprised and pleasantly surprised that she just seems really ready and looks amazing and is acting like her old self. I love the set list. I love the
Mhm.
visuals that I've seen. Of course, I'm not someone who avoids spoilers. I'm
Well, you
more.
can't anymore. There's just no way with the internet and with Instagram and whatever. There's no way.
You would really have to just log out. There's almost no way to avoid them. But I mean, I also have actually gone out of my way to watch things.
Yeah,
I
same.
sort of
I
feel like
think.
I've already seen the show, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling bad that I have to wait like another 19 performances or something before I see it.
Oh, it's nothing. I won't see her until April 1st.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? I assume that I know that much has been made that she likes to have a sort of a very highly rehearsed and set show. But on the other
Yeah,
hand, on other tours, she has varied things here and there. So I think it's
yeah,
possible that we'll get a different song or two.
yeah.
I just want to
I
make sure it happens. It's so long, it's so far away.
I know. I just worry too because it's like I know she mentioned something about one of the shows the other night. How she said she's still not feeling that great, but she's alive. And I'm like,
I, I,
I just
I don't know what to make of that because she didn't show any signs of fatigue or illness even though she was saying that, like she didn't sound like she had a cold. So I
right.
feel like she must just be saying like in general,
Yeah,
considering that she went through such a big health scare not that long ago, she's probably still got some aches and pains. But I was a little worried that it was like a prelude to canceling that next show. So it didn't happen. So,
yeah,
and I've seen pictures of her arriving, and I think she's in Denmark, and she looks good. So far
yeah.
so good. I know there's a lot of haters online who are making all these jokes and comments about like, oh well, she's gonna start canceling. I don't know.
She's not.
I find the
She's not.
negativity so annoying.
She's not Morrissey.
Right. And so, cancels a lot. Just happened last tour, and she needed a hip replacement so for a break. Before that, she's canceled very rarely.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I just wish it were sooner.
yeah. I know. Got to wait quite a while, but I think it's going to be worth the wait.
I hope so, and I guess I can at least claim that I'm going to the first North American show.
Oh, true. Okay. So what kind of seats do you have for the show?
I have three different tickets right now, which already feels like too much for me and is way fewer than most people that
Oh
I know
yeah.
that are super fans. I mean, the super fans.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
I know people who go like dozens of times, which is insane. Um,
Yeah.
I have right now. I have one seat. I don't know where it is, but I know that it's going to be good. I have one
Hmm.
seat that is basically front row. It's kind of I don't know how to describe it. It's actually, but it's in a position where there's no one in front of me if I'm facing exactly the middle of the stage. So to me, it feels like this is basically front row, as
Yeah.
far front as I have, and then I have a pit.
Yeah.
So I want to see it from different angles. I wish I could see it from the front, from the pit, and from in front of the backstage,
Yeah.
just to get a total variety. And when I go to these things, I'm ever since this was allowed, I'm really interested in taking photos.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in that more than almost anything else. And I love getting those. And so That's my goal is always to kind of spread it around, and I do think it's always wise to try to go at least twice, because then you never know what's going to happen
Yeah.
different, and you never know what you might miss. So it's good to spread it around.
I'd like to go to two different shows at least, but I just have the one. She's only doing one Atlanta show. We're hoping for another. Atlanta's a weird crowd though, because I was in the pit for MDNA and it was such like a strange variety. Like there were some people there that just had a lot of money that somehow got in there and had no business being in there. So yeah, they weren't really fans.
Yeah, that's common, especially like for the best seats of her concerts for quite a while. I've always seen people like that who are just they have a lot of money. They're just kind of doing a status, like, oh, I'm going to front row of Madonna.
Right.
And when at MDNA, I remember there were these guys who had these girls with them. There was like their dates, and they were drunk out of their minds. But it was clear that they were just trying to impress these girls, and they were beyond obnoxious. Like they had no interest in the show. They were heckling and saying they wanted her to sing. Can't remember what song, but it was like Papa Don't Preach or something, and it was just not the right show to be doing that. And then
Right.
then they had like one of the seats kind of taken, and then they would swap people in and out from
Mm,
back, who were sitting far back. They would swap them out so they would get to sit in the front for a while. It was just there's always something like that. That's another reason
yeah.
why I like to go more than once, because like the next time I went was a much better experience.
Yeah. When I was in the pit, I had a guy approach me and he saw my like a prayer tattoo and he asked who that was and I just stared at him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Context.
And then I was like, "It's Madonna." Oh, and then he looked at me. He's like, "Do you know where I can get any party favors?" And I don't really do a lot of drugs, so I just said, "Well, Party City." I don't know. And,
That's funny. I'm
um.
surprised she doesn't sell them at the merch stand.
Oh yeah, some MDNA.
Yeah, some like whatever to make some money. I mean, there's so many different things are popping up merchandise wise this time. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that are only going to be available at certain shows just because they're going to sell out and they're going to cycle
Right.
in new stuff.
Yeah.
Do you buy things though? Are you much of a collector?
I am, but I mean, I've been collecting since. I mean, I've loved her since day one. I wasn't allowed to like publicly like her until like a prayer.
Mm,
That's when I was like finally like I don't care because it was very secretive because I was raised Baptist and so it was just not like I was not allowed to. Amy Grant was my first concert, but so I've had to kind of refine my collection. I feel like the things I collect are a lot of magazines and books and I do records. I don't do CDs or tapes. I just kind of, I'm over tapes after growing up in the 80s. I don't really care for them.
yeah, it's kind of
But
strange with the things that end up being valuable.
yeah,
Music is one of them. Vinyl is very seems to be evergreen. People always want collectible vinyl, which I never would have dreamed back in the day. Once vinyl was discontinued, I just thought, oh, this is like a moribund. It's not going to be used anymore, so it's probably not going to be as. But
yeah,
people like the way it looks, and in cassettes sometimes too. I mean, some of those quote unquote singles are
yeah.
worth so much money. The one thing that really surprises me about collecting is just how valuable T-shirts are.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it
Yeah, but
seems like, wow, I wore these. Like, I see all these T-shirts that are worth 300, 500, $900, and I'm like,
mhm,
I owned this, but I wore it until it rotted off me.
yeah.
It never occurred to me to keep them all in plastic.
Yeah, I'm probably a bad collector because I use all my things like I play my records. I have the Desperately Seeking Susan dolls, but they're out of the packages and they're like on display. Like I don't keep anything in its box.
I do keep a lot of things sealed, but just not the right things, I guess. I mean, I'm also famous, among myself for buying things and then just tossing them under the bed into a box and never looking at them again. And
Oh, well, that's good.
the big problem with that is, on the one hand, yes, you collect a lot of amazing things, but then I have this tendency to forget what I have.
Oh,
And
yeah.
more than a couple of times, I have been desperate to get something and I got it, and it was such a big thrill, and then I realized I already had bought it, and I already had it, and I didn't remember the last thrill from when I got it. And in fact, one
Yeah.
time it was something that I had three of. So,
Oh, God.
and I don't like to keep duplicates on purpose. It's just, collecting dementia.
Yeah. That's happened a lot with certain things. That's why it's good. Like they have the sites like discogs.com for records because
Right.
it keeps a database. And the joke with me and some friends, I have like 6 different copies of Angel on vinyl. And people kept giving me that. They're like, "Oh, here, birthday or whatever. And, I got this for you." And I'm like, "Oh, it's another one." So every time I go to the store and I see it, I text my friend Mary and I'm like, "Do I have this?" And she's like, "No, I don't think you do."
That's funny.
But yeah, I've done that before, but it's hard because sometimes you just forget. And I instantly go blank whenever I go into a record store, like a bookstore. I'm just like, what do I like? What am I looking for? It's like, but it's always Madonna. That's like first. But then like sometimes I forget just the things I have. So I have to make lists and I feel
Well,
like an old person.
I used to have a very extensive inventory. I did like a whole inventory. And then once you let it go for a while, it becomes less useful because you forget what you haven't added. But I
Right.
do refer back to it. And then I do have a scan of all of the covers of every magazine that I have, which
Yeah.
I did because I did a whole book of those. So I scanned all those. So that functions as an ongoing list. So anytime I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, look at this magazine cover. I've never seen this. I can
Yeah.
immediately look on my list of scans and be like, actually, I have seen it. I own it. I scanned it. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. Do you have the island?
Yeah,
I thought so because I was talking to my friend Andy about it and I'm like, Matthew's got to have that.
I do, but it was hard. I mean, it was difficult to get, and now they're not as expensive as they used to be, but they are so expensive. The way I got mine was, well, many years ago. I knew it was a hot item, and I couldn't find it. It was impossible. It was never sold.
Yeah.
So I put an ad in. New York had this thing called, I think it was called Loot,
Hmm.
and it was like they had these back page ads, and I just did a want ad saying, I'm looking for a copy of this magazine, and I'll pay. I think I said I'd pay $50 for it. Um,
Hmm.
and so I met this nice woman, and she covered the scene back in the day. She brought me a folded copy that wasn't too folded. It was just kind of, it was kind of half folded over, and it was
Yeah.
in pretty good shape. She brought me that, and she said, "Oh, I also have this," and it was like an invitation
Oh,
to,
wow.
something, and so it was like really good stuff. So I got it for very cheap, and I was so thrilled, and I've had it ever since. And then the weirdest thing was, I met this, or I didn't meet, but I online met this woman who had advertised in Island, in the original
Uh-huh.
copies of Island. So they had sent her copies of it as like check copies. So she had, I think, four. I
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
believe it. She had four. So I bought them all thinking, oh, I'm going to sell these for bazillions of dollars. I barely sold them for what I paid
Oh,
because
my
they're just
God.
so expensive that there's a limited number of people who really want to spend top
Yeah.
dollar on something like that. But the reason I mention that is I upgraded the one that I had, so I now have a flawless copy,
There you go.
which is interesting because when you look at, I've now seen like 5 or 6 copies. Um, Even though it was a very small run, I don't know how small. Um, Different parts of the run, the cover looks different. So
Oh,
there are copies that are, it looks like her face just on a completely black backdrop. But there are
hmm.
other copies that are a little more refined, where you can actually see a little of her, a little of the background, just a little bit. So it's interesting, the variety in the printing. That's kind of what excites me. The differences in
Yeah.
printing. I'm all about ephemera. So I like magazines, posters, invitations, paper.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely big on magazines still, and books. Although there was, there's one book that I had to sell because I fell on really hard times and it helped, but I still sometimes regret selling it. I had the Ecstatic Process book,
Oh yeah,
and that was,
that's one that's held some value.
yeah, it smelled really weird though.
Yeah, that sounds right. My copy is
No,
not
it was,
opened, of course.
yeah, no, it was cool.
Or open it.
But I just had to unload it, and I think it was like at the time it was like $500 that I sold it for.
Yeah, those are valuable. Certain things retain their value. I do regret being super into magazines because I may have a lot of them, but there's certain ones that seemed great at the time that now nobody cares about. Like there are
Yeah,
certain magazines that will always be valuable because they're super old and super limited, but foreign editions of like expensive fashion magazines aren't really that interesting anymore to people.
yeah. Is there any sort of holy grails, something that you want that you haven't been able to attain?
I mean, there's always stuff, and for the most part, things my holy grails keep popping up, like things I didn't know I wanted. Because
Right.
things that I really wanted forever and ever, I did get them, and
Yeah.
then you feel like, well, what am I going to do now? And then you
Yeah.
find out, oh, there's what is this? And I see
Yeah.
things listed. It's very frustrating because I picked her. She's someone who just has it turns out an endless variety of things that
Oh yeah.
that I have never seen. And I just
Yeah.
keep thinking, how have I never seen this? Like there'll be some new magazine from Japan, and I'll think, I mean, not new, but like newly discovered magazine
Right.
from Japan. And it's like, how did this exist? Like the other month, I mean, like a month ago or so, somebody posted pictures of her that had never been seen. They were never on the internet. No
Right.
fan that I've ever heard of has ever seen them. They're from a magazine in 1983 in
Yeah.
Japan. And I was like, how on earth? And there was a common magazine because I immediately looked and there were tons of copies available. No one was
Yeah.
connecting that it was her. And
Right.
so this magazine had been floating around and nobody knew about it. It wasn't in anybody's collections. I find that insane. And so I
Yeah.
snapped one of those up. But, there's stuff like that comes up. I'm sure there's still more in Japan because there have been so many covers that have popped up recently. There is a magazine I want called The 100. That's from Japan.
Yeah.
That some people thought was a fake cover at one point, and then someone just found one.
Yeah.
And I do question how any magazine can be so limited, even though it's old. I just find it crazy that copies of these things. But
Right.
then I get excited if I see something like I love like club invitations, early years
Hmm.
things before she was famous. So you have to make sure they're real.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of fake posters going around.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Stuff
Well, and
like
that's
that.
the weird thing now with like AI. Like I saw those pictures from that the 83 magazine, and I was like, you don't know. And then of course I question them, and then people get mad at me and give me shit, and they're like, oh, you and AI. And I'm like, because people are doing that. They're saying, oh, these rare pictures that no one's ever seen. I'm like, how are we just seeing them now? Like, I know
Right.
it's possible.
It's better to be a little skeptical at first because there are so many things that are made up on purpose, and
Yeah.
some things that are made up for fun, then they're stolen and used by people who are purposefully deceiving, and
Yeah.
it really it really bothers me that all these classic old photos are being yassified, and they look so ridiculous. Or people will release, oh look, here's a full body shot from the rest of her when she was shooting True Blue, and it's like, no, it's like obviously it's a fake body. Like this is an
Oh
AI
yeah.
creation, and people share it, and I don't think that anyone's going to care or know.
Right.
More importantly, know what was real and what wasn't. And people think it's harmless, but to me, it feels like it's really like
It's
overwriting history. It's kind of scary to me.
it's misinformation,
It
and
is.
it's misleading. Like, do you saw the like a prayer one? the praying hands that they
Yeah.
did with the full picture, quote unquote.
Yeah, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so great! I never saw this." It's like- and then I'm like the cranky old man who's like, "Yeah, of course you never saw it. It never existed until now."
Yeah,
But I do
same.
that
And
all
I
the
was also,
time with not just
yeah,
her, with other old stars, and like there are all these
yeah,
sites devoted to nostalgia that drive me bonkers because they'll post like amazing images from the past, except they've been retouched
yeah,
or they're
yeah.
not real. Like, of course, Madonna meeting Elvis, which never
Oh
happened.
God, yeah, no, I've seen your post about that a million times, and people send me that picture, and I'm like, please stop, it's not her.
But it comes up every year.
Yeah,
Whoever
every
originally did
single
it,
year.
whoever originally did it on purpose because it's not the original photo. It is they lightened it and they added a little gap in the teeth and they
Yeah,
like changed her face subtly. They're trying to make it look so they tried to make it look more like her. And people just accept these things without even questioning it, and I just find that so weird. Like, part of it isn't just visually what's wrong with this picture. Part of it also has to be, okay, let's take a step back and think about the context. Is this likely? You know, where is this coming from? Would this happen? Does the math add up? And none of that
yeah,
works for that photo and for lots of other photos. But people still they get mad. You know, if you say this
yeah,
isn't real, yes, it is. How do you know?
yeah.
Where were you there? Uh,
Well, and also what I don't understand also like why people would get mad. I don't know if it just makes them feel better that they want to believe that.
They feel dumb that they believed it. I think they feel
Yeah,
if they feel like they were fooled. It happens all the time. You know, people will share a quote and you'll be like, you know, Gandhi never said this. Oh, then how do you know? And so
yeah,
what? I still love the sentiment. You know, it's just kind of weird that people are so possessive about that. But I think it's because they know that they were fooled and it bothers them.
yeah. And when that happens to me, I will be the first to admit and correct myself because I don't like spreading
Well,
misinformation.
then they never
So
take it down. That's what hilariously, a lot
yeah,
of times when people say, oh, I guess this wasn't real, and they leave it up. It's like, why didn't you delete it? You know, they like that it has 14, likes on it. I
yeah.
don't know. It's strange.
Mm. So I wanted to get back to because we were talking about concerts and things and super fans. Um, I don't know. With fans, it just kind of marvels me, especially Madonna fans. Like I sometimes I feel for people's credit cards and their bank accounts because
Yeah,
I'm like, well, just and it's not even just Madonna. It's just the notion of being a fan and what, excuse me, a super fan is. And there seems to be this thing within where you're a fan if you see every show and you have everything, and it's just very much material based, which is funny considering um, you know, Madonna being the material girl and anti-material girl, even though it just I don't know, just the concept, I guess,
it
like of what
is.
makes a fan to people.
Yeah, it is. It is competitive, and I think when people complain about prices, then other people are like, "Well, you just can't afford it." And it's like, "Well, yeah, that's exactly that's exactly
Yeah,
right. That's why they're complaining about it."
yeah,
it is a huge expense, and I mean, you have to decide if it makes you happy or if it's just a compulsion.
yeah. Because I've had a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I'm the biggest fan because I have this and I've gone to every show and I have all that. I'm just like, okay. And then I kind of wait for them to finish and then I stop and go, I don't want to play the card, but I do. And I'm like, well, I met her. And they're like, oh, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Like you can't. There's only so many. Um, there are only so many thresholds. That's one of the
Yeah,
top ones.
yeah. And also, I think too, it's like now that I've gotten older, and it's like I think also my collection is channeled into tattoos. Like I have 9 Madonna tattoos,
So
and
that's how you
so
can counter it when they say, "I own everything. I own one of everything." Yeah, but
yeah,
I have 9 tattoos.
yeah,
Then
um,
the next level is I've met her, and then the next level is I know her. Like that's the ultimate. If somebody's able
I
to
know.
say that, then it shuts you up.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know her. I wish I knew her. It's funny because it's like I met her in 2000, but then like in on MDNA on the tour, guy saw the like prayer tattoo and he was like, "Holy shit, I have to interview you." And I was like, "Okay." And so he interviewed me, and then he was like asking me all these questions, and I'm looking at him while he's filming, and he said, "Well, no, don't look at me, look in the camera, tell her." And I'm just like, I wanted to vomit. Um, but it's funny. It's like I've met her. I've had that experience. It feels like it was out of body, but I still get those butterflies and just that, like, holy shit, it's Madonna
Do you ever feel like,
feeling.
if you're ever in her vicinity, do you ever feel like you want to make that happen again, or do you feel like you did it?
Um, I guess if it happened, I'd be okay with it, but I don't really want to make it happen.
Right. It's not as compelling a need because you've already done it.
Yeah, and because my experience was so good, and it was such a quick thing, but it was so nice. I mean, she was very gracious. It was at Roseland Ballroom, the music promo tour. It was an MTV contest, which was so weird because nobody wins that shit. Um, so like every time I tell the story, I feel like I'm lying because I'm like, who does that? Um, but we waited for her. We took the picture with her. She shook my hand. She thanked us all for coming. It was just so like a blur, but it was just like, wow. And I was very nervous. Right before we went to go meet her, Rosie O'Donnell walks up and she's like, "Hey, how you doing? Have you met her yet?" And I honestly looked at Rosie and I said, "Rosie, I'm sorry, but you're not helping." I was so, I was so, I was like, "I'm gonna meet Madonna," like, because I've loved her since Holiday came out. But I think it was a perfect meeting. It was just, she was very lovely and gracious. I have the picture, which now people can say, "Oh, that's AI," but it's real.
Yeah, that's true.
What's his face from, is it Kevin Mazar? Is that his
Yeah,
name?
Kevin Mazur. Yeah.
He did the photo.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's out of body.
yeah, he did mine too.
At what was that, the Truth or
Truth or
Dare,
Dare.
the
Yeah,
fragrance?
the Truth or Dare fragrance launch. She looked amazing. I looked good. Great moment. It happened the right way in the right moment, and it's very happy that it happened. Um,
Yeah.
there was actually this guy there that was. I knew it was going to happen, and he knew it was going to happen, and he said it'll never happen. At the last minute, it won't happen. I was so pissed that he was trying to like do that. And then when she got closer and it became obvious it was going to happen, he said, "Pull me in too, like get me one too." And I
Wow.
just looked at him and I said, "I can't." Like he has to know. He had to have known. Like I had no sway. It was happening for
Yeah.
me. But if someone graciously allows you this one big thing, you don't say, "Oh, can this person also be a part of it?" So
Yeah.
wow, he has held that against me ever since. He has absolutely despises me because of that.
Well, also he's being a naysayer and saying, "Oh, it's not going to
I know
happen,"
that's
and
what
then
made it
it's like,
even more. I really didn't feel bad in one at all
yeah,
that I couldn't help him
yeah,
because he was. But if I'd only known how nasty he was going to get, I would have felt even less bad about it. But yeah,
oh yeah,
people get very, obviously, as you know, people get jealous and competitive about that stuff. And
yeah. Yeah, it's like when we did the Roseland thing. I took my ex-girlfriend, obviously from when I was in like high school, because I pretended early on. Um, and I was like, "Well, I'll take her. That's fine." She was miserable. She was the worst person to take. And in the end, when we did the group picture, she was the only one that wasn't visible. And I was like, "Nope, there you go."
that's so funny. So she got shut
Yeah,
out of it. She must hate
yeah,
that
and
now.
I don't know. I don't talk to her anymore, but she cared more about. She's like, "Oh, Everlast is opening up. That's cool." She cared more about that than Madonna, and I'm like, "Who are you?"
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, just the naysayers. There's just, I don't know. There's a lot of. I mean, it's not just negativity in fandom, but it's weird, and I know that there is very much like a um, not a totem pole, but kind of. There's like a case system or something amongst fans. They're like the super fans, and like everybody knows certain people, and like I don't know. I just love her, and I don't ever really want to be like, oh yeah, I don't want to be known.
I call them the
I
famous
just
fans. I
yeah,
always say like, oh, there were so many famous fans there. Like whenever there's a certain event that you're not sure if everyone's going to come out for, like it's
yeah,
related to Madonna, like it's maybe Susan Seidelman is doing like a screening or something.
right,
And sometimes they'll just be shocked and be like, wow, there were no famous fans there. It's like no one knew about it. And other times, all the famous fans are there. But I know sometimes it's
yeah,
grating to people because they feel like the same people are everywhere, are always at these events, and sometimes it
right,
feels like they're being getting some kind of special treatment, and that's true, it happens. But there are also times
yeah.
when they're just like crazy, and I'm saying they. But there's also
No, I
times
know.
when they are just crazy and they're just actually working really hard and getting in there. There are people,
Yeah,
that, and I've done it myself many times, where you
right,
work everything you can to get into a certain place, and it does get old. But
yeah,
after a while, you've done it so many times, why not do it once more?
yeah. No, I mean, most fans that I've encountered in the wild have been lovely. There are
Yeah.
only a few exceptions that I'm just, I really grit my teeth when I see them. I'm like, oh, good, you're
No,
here.
yeah, she's got nice fans. It's just fandom in general
Right.
can breed weird behavior. It
Yeah.
can.
Well, I mean, it's a fine line between adoration and obsession.
Yeah, and if they are obsessed, um, and you get in their way, then there's hell to pay.
Yeah.
Because it's
And
not it's but that happens too, even with between the fan and the star. I mean, there are a lot of
oh,
people
yeah.
who love her, and then 1 second later they loathe her. You know, I'll
Good
take
choice of word.
yeah, because there was someone who was. I remember this guy was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad she survived," and "Oh, this concert's amazing. You changed my life last night." And then she was late the next night, and he wrote something just like so, like you've destroyed your legacy. How can you
Yeah.
do this? And I wrote him, and I was like, "How can you flip that fast?" And he's like, "Oh, you're right. I'm just upset. I'm just upset." But it's funny
Well,
how people do flip.
oh, yeah. Well, there's so many people who feel like that whoever they are into or Madonna or whatnot, that they owe them something, and they don't.
Yeah, and they also just sort of see them in a certain way, and then when they
Yeah.
don't make the exact choices that they're hoping for them to make, they get upset. And that's why there's certain lots of other artists who don't rock the boat. And I think we're getting more and more used to having artists who are, they're not very rock and roll. Like it's very commercial, and
Yeah.
it's very much like a service industry. So
Yeah.
where they will be like, you know, you're not my fan, you're my friend, and oh,
Right.
you guys want me to do all my old songs, so of course I'm going to do that. Or oh,
Yeah.
I know what you want me to do next. You want me to go back to my roots and do a disco album. Like there are just certain
Yeah.
things that all these other artists do as a matter of course because it's just how you do it now. And
Yeah.
so when somebody like Madonna is more erratic, it's extremely upsetting to
Yeah.
people because even though that's why they liked her to begin with, they're old now, so in our ways, and we want things to be, a little more convenient, a little more catered to our wants and needs. And so I'm always trying to shrug that off and just be like, look, it's whatever she does is what she does, and that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. And she's been, like I tell everybody, she's been doing the same thing since day one. So I don't understand why anybody's surprised.
No, and I know
Um,
that the same people would be upset if she were, more generic. She'd
yeah.
be more even more
I just,
successful. I mean, it's hard to imagine her being more successful, but she would be even more
yeah.
successful if she were more generic.
Yeah. It's like the whole, like the starting times, like everybody was like all excited because the London shows, well, they have a curfew. So, and then the next, where was it? Antwerp?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, Bob didn't start till 9:30. Here we go again. And I was like, what do you mean, here we go again? I'm like, I don't know. It's just like there's so many people. I don't understand why they even like her, because all they do is complain about everything she does. It's like
Yeah.
she does a remix. It's like, oh, she should have put out this remix. She does an album cover. Oh, she should have used this photographer. It's just like I don't understand why I even follow her then.
It's particularly weird when they're like upset about a concert starting at like 9:45. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, that sounds really bad. Like 9:45.
yeah,
Ooh.
I know.
Like, what about
Like,
Grace Jones? Like, come on. She seems
yeah,
to be quite, I would say, very punctual so far this tour, considering.
yeah. We'll see.
We'll see
I
how it
mean, I
goes.
think when I
Once all the curfews are no longer around. I mean, I guess she was fairly on time for Belgium, but I hope she doesn't come to New York and come on it too. But if she does, I will sit and wait for it.
oh yeah, like when I went to Madame X, I was floor but by the back, and these women left and they looked at me and they're like, "Here, do you want my seats?" And they were up closer, and I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We have to work in the morning," and I'm like, "Why didn't you take the next day off?" I'm like, even if it's not Madonna, you should, some of us can't get up in the morning, and function after being at a concert the night before.
Yeah, I wouldn't leave almost anything. I
Yeah,
almost wouldn't leave anything just based on lateness. I would just stay, and I would just wake up the next day. I actually, even if I'm tired the next day, I would just do it. It's only one time.
yeah,
But yeah, it'd be great
yeah.
if she were completely punctual. But I really can't grade a rock star on punctuality.
Oh yeah. I mean, and she's a night owl too. I mean, I think she said she goes to bed at like 4 in the morning usually. So
Yeah,
it's like, well,
hopefully that's changing a little bit. She seems to be taking better care of herself.
yeah. I think the only thing I've noticed, and I mean, it's miraculous that she's even doing this so soon after, but like I do notice she's a little bit slower.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Um,
everything has to be done in moderation.
yeah, because she'll do way too much and then she'll kill herself. I mean, not literally, but
Almost.
she'll exhaust herself.
Yeah, but I also think this is what I would have imagined anyway. I mean, she's moving well for her age.
Right.
Had she never had this setback, she'd probably be moving even better. But I mean, she's moving really well. She looks good.
Yeah.
She's giving us the
Her
right
voice sounds
songs. Voice
incredible.
sounds incredible. I'm sick of hearing, oh, she's lip syncing. Look, man, a lot of that is not lip synced. Believe me,
Yes.
most of
Yes.
it is not lip synced. And then when I say lip sync, it's most of it isn't even lip synced. It's she is singing. You can hear her voice
Yeah.
modulating and changing over any kind of backing track. In other words, if Madonna had no voice and went on, the songs wouldn't sound the same. You wouldn't just hear this
Right.
track. It's like when she was pulled down in London that time with Living
Yeah.
for Love. People noticed, oh, she was really singing. It's like, yeah, she was. There's just like a low track. It's kind of a guide track in the background. But yeah, and Bad
Yeah.
Girl, I mean, incredible
Uh-huh.
vocal,
I'm so excited she's doing Bad Girl.
incredible vocal. Just really, really, she knocks that one out of the park.
She'll never do my favorite song ever, but that's okay. I would love her
Gambler.
to, but no, no. My favorite Madonna song ever is actually Till Death Do Us Part.
Well, she could have done that. I mean, she's done some random things on this tour, but she didn't. So I think this was your only chance.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen, and it's okay. But like, I always pictured it would have been great in like MDNA, like in the divorce,
Oh
the
yeah,
angry section.
that's a great song.
Yeah, no, I think it's just the juxtaposition. It's such a happy sounding song, and the lyrics and just the ending is just perfect with the glass breaking.
It'd be very dramatic for the stage.
Yeah, it would. So I'll just have to play it out in my mind.
You'll have to apply to be music director next time.
Oh God, if only.
Imagine meeting Stuart Price and saying the show was okay, but
I
till
have some
death do us
ideas.
part. Really, you left that out? God, how could you leave that out?
Is there anything that she's like, any song that you wish that she'd ever do that she hasn't?
Gambler.
Okay,
I like Gambler. I want that song.
it's a fun song.
You're just jealous that you can't be me. Come on. I like Gambler. I'm trying to think of a song that I don't like Take a Bow, so I don't care that she doesn't do that.
It's good. It's not my favorite, but I mean, it's a sweet song. But
It's always nice
yeah,
to hear something you've never heard her sing before. But
right.
what else is the song that's famous? I mean, like Angel, she hasn't done since the very beginning, right? I don't think she did it again.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd love to hear like I'll remember this used to be my playground.
yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Like this used to be my playground for whatever reason. She just seems to not really care
Yeah,
about those songs and what number one and number two hits.
yeah.
But then she
Or
finally gave
Rescue
that guy.
Me.
She finally gave that guy causing a commotion.
Oh yeah, I know. I sent that to him. I'm like, I'm sure people have been sending me this all day long.
So
Yeah, she
somebody,
must hate that song.
well, she did it, so she can't. She must not hate it too much. She did a little
Yeah,
snippet, so
yeah.
yeah, Rescue Me would be nice. And I think it
Like
was,
full Rescue Me, not like Madam X Rescue Me.
but that counts in her head. She's like, we've already done that.
Yes, I know.
She's
I
like,
know.
we've done that.
And of
That's
course, if she did you do it? That would be great.
no, that's a
I'm
no.
kidding. I'm
Um,
kidding.
I think it's funny also that people were really upset she didn't do Frozen this time. It's like, well, she did just did do a basically definitive version of it,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
not Secret. I always felt like she did one or the other, but no.
Yeah, Secret she's done a few times. I saw Secret when she played it at Rebel Heart because she recorded it in Atlanta. And so she was talking about the experience and when she did her like, the random songs in the middle.
Wait, what was that? I missed that.
Oh, no, she did Secret in Atlanta. She talked about the recording process with Dallas Austin and recording it
Oh yeah,
here. And but I think when we saw her in Miami, she did Don't Cry for Me Argentina, of
right,
course.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. There's certain songs like I love Less La Bonita, but I'm like for me it's like take it or leave it. I love that song, but I'm like I don't need to hear it live again. I'm okay.
I never thought it was any even top tier Madonna, but I have to admit that it is one of her biggest hits now in
Yeah.
retrospect, and I find that amazing because to me it's not even close to some of these other songs that are amazing hits. But yeah, it's one of her biggest hits in the you know of all time. It was a huge streaming and it was big overseas. I mean, I don't know what happened with that song. To me, it's kind of light and not a big deal. But it's on every tour in the same way Vogue is because it's probably in her top five most popular songs.
Yeah.
Probably like
I
what
mean,
Vogue, La Isla Bonita, Like a Virgin. What are the other like her biggest songs?
like a prayer.
Hung Up, Like a Prayer. Those five.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. And it's just and it's fun that she's doing a greatest hits tour, but I'll go see her read the phone book.
Yeah, I mean, she had to do this in order to tour. There would be no tour if you're not going to do hits. It was clear that it was at a point where they must have just told her, "Look, you're either doing hits or you're not going on tour."
I feel like it was contractual since she went back to Warner Brothers.
Right, but I mean, seriously, like if she had said, "I'm going to go out on a tour with all new material," I think on the heels of Madame X, it would have been extremely hard to sell tickets.
Oh yeah.
So this is a nice refresher, reminder, and we'll see.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
kind of
got
hard
really
to
good
it's hard to
reviews.
imagine what she would tour with next.
I know. I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know how many more tours are going to happen. I mean, I'm being a naysayer. I'm just being realistic. So
We
we'll
have to
see.
see. We'll see.
You'll see. Oh, and did you see that the Spanish version of You'll See is on streaming now?
Yes.
I love it.
Verás.
Yes, I had a moment the other day driving to work, and the leaves are actually falling now, so the fall leaves are everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm in the video. But yeah, it's gorgeous, and I'm very happy that a lot of the things are coming on streaming that haven't been. But it's interesting being a fan from the very beginning. And it is very nostalgic, so it'll probably be very emotional just seeing this show.
I know. I want it to happen already.
I know. I know, and I'm just excited. We're in the I guess Danceteria pit.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Like
which one I'm in. I know I'm in one of them. I'm trying to. I
We're in
guess I'll
Pitt.
have some surprises.
Yeah, my only wish is that they had a bathroom in the pit.
Be nice, but I don't know. That could lead to bad things too.
No, I know that too, but it's like I feel like especially the older
Like
I
there's
get.
like a porta potty in the pit.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have to pee all the time, and I'm like, how am I? Because we're gonna have to wait, and then all these people will be clamoring to get like the side so they can be right there.
You could go into
Like
the Yule P porta potty.
you'll pee. Oh well, I think that's a perfect way to end things. Then
Yes, dad jokes are always a good thing to go out on.
I love it. Although I tell people when I do corny jokes, I'm like, well, I'm a gay man, so it's not a dad joke; it's a daddy joke.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much for chatting with me. You are Madonna royalty, whether you like it or not.
Oh, I like it. I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah, no,
thank
I
you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
oh yeah, I got the Encyclopedia Madonnica. I think I was like 15, and so it's been like a Bible, and I have what three different versions now,
I
and
know, like
the
there's
magazine cover book.
11 versions available. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
for that.
I know. Of course,
Hope
no,
you'll never be updated, so enjoy it.
I know. Well, that's the fun thing, though, and that's I mean, like talking about collecting. It's like that's when you have to kind of stop and like specialize in what you're interested in because like you're never going to have everything ever, ever, ever. It's impossible.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have a good
All right,
day,
thank
and
you.
I can't wait till we get to see the show.
Me too. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.